Listen to the Vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. Very happy to welcome Richard Walsh here. Now, he is the CEO of Sharpen the Spear Coaching. So we're going to get to know him and have a great conversation. So, Mr. Walsh, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for having me on. First off, man, I love being here. I've been a little over 30 years, I don't know, 35 years in the entrepreneurial space, if you will. Started my first business coming out of the Marine Corps in 87. I just kept rolling from there, learned how to work and make money and wanted more of it and work for myself. That was a great idea. I wasn't super smart back then, but I pursued and persisted and created a landscape business that turned to a custom water feature business. So waterfalls, things like that. I became a sculptor, a steel sculptor, taught myself how to do that, became internationally recognized doing that, did some world-class exhibits and some great commissions for big places. That was awesome. I was building a great business, making great money, doing wonderful things. 08, 09 hit, kind of got a little bit of a financial crunch there, if you remember, as I'm sure you do. That really took my business out. Actually, let me rephrase that. My business collapsed in 08, 09, not because of the financial collapse, but because of the things I didn't do in my business, right? I could make money really well, and I won all the awards and recognition. I was on TV and in magazines and all the cool stuff. But there's things when things get tight that, they discover the weaknesses, the holes in the bucket, right? So that's really what happened. So I ended up losing everything, including my home. I had 6 small children at the time. My wife had to relocate, start over from kind of negative, and did it. Rebuilt. But the big thing I remember, or I tried to do on that, Kyle, was I was really owned by my business. My identity was in my business. Everything I did was for my business, to be number one, to be the best, to win the awards, to be on committees, do all this stuff. And I did wake up in 09, early 09, and I thought, I've got these 6 little kids, 4 years and younger. And when I come home, they attack me. They love to see me. When I leave, my one son he chased me down the driveway one day, crying, running after my truck, and you see that in the review mirror. And of course, I just kept going because I got to go to work. That was pretty hard. So that was quite the kick, if you will. And I kind of came to the epiphany that, my kids don't really care what I drive, where we live. They don't care what I do for a business. They don't care how many magazines I've been in and TV and all that. All they want was me to be around. And I'm like, wow, like if I continue down this path of business first, I'm going to ruin my children's future. I'm going to ruin their relationships, their marriages, because all they're going to know is business is first, because more is caught than taught, right? So I could tell them what to do, but they're only watching what I actually do. And that was the day I walked in and said, we're done. I shut the doors. We were collapsing anyways, but I'm just like, we're finished. So I let my crew go of over 10 years, same guys, best guys ever, were like family. I let them go. My office people, I let them go. And I just had to liquidate and get out. There was nothing left for me. I was losing my house and everything anyway. So, but then I refocused on how can I be around for my kids? I didn't want to be a stay-at-home dad or something like that, but I wanted to be around. We wanted to homeschool them all the way through. I wanted to pop in, pop out when I could, when I wanted to. My wife needed me, I could leave. I'm not chained to the desk. I don't have to open the business every day. So that was my goal. So I started that kind of whole recalibration and built a couple more businesses, scaled them properly this time, did them right. That was great. Began coaching people to help them with their business, do the same thing, to really create freedom, profit, and impact in their business. So they're able to also have time with their family, or what I call the 5 F's. It's faith, family, finances, fitness, and friendships. Like that, people talk about work-life balance, Kyle. That's what it is when you've got that. But no one ever tells you how to do that, because they don't really know. They just like to throw out little things like you need work-life balance, and they trot off to their miserable job. So I'm like, well, I know how to do it, but I always tell people, but if you have a business and you own a business, you got to square away the business. You can't do the other 5. You can't do the 5 F's if your business is a hot mess, because you'll never be able to. You can't separate. So you got to kind of put it back in order, fix that, then you can focus on those other 5 and create real balance in your life. And that's what I help people do now.
And you wrote a book?
I did. It's called Escape the Owner Prison. Subtitle is The Contractor's New Way to Scale, Regain Control, and Fast Track Growth While Loving Life. So that was really me. I combined my story, the whole first 20 years and the collapse and the rebuild into that on what to do and what not to do. And really showed how to build a business that's scalable but manageable. You can do it comfortably and still have those 5 F's in your life.
Why help other people? There's different motivations for folks, but what was yours?
It was kind of odd. Like first people just started, so how'd you do that? How'd you go from all that to nothing back to this? And I said, well, I just did this. What are you doing? And they tell me what's wrong. I go, well, just do this. And I just somehow I figured out I have a gift for that. And I think my failure was a huge part of it. We always learn more from our failures than our successes, right? Always. And I learned a lot because I had a lot of them. So I got to learn a lot. And I started helping them. And I really got a lot of joy out of seeing people escape their own owner prison. Really seeing them and their wives told me, I never thought this was possible. I never thought he'd work less than 60, 70 hours a week. And now he's working 15, and the business is doing great, and it's just awesome. So that became a big driver for me because I really get way more joy out of other people's success than my own, which is an odd thing, I know, but it's just like, I don't know why. It's just like when you see that and you see people make that transformation, because most entrepreneurs are hard workers. There's very few that aren't. The ones who aren't, well, they're not really working. They don't have a business, but so they'll do the work. They just need the direction because they go from being like a craftsman or a technician. They're really good and they think they're better than the guy they're working for. So they go and start their own business. Well, that's great. And they put 9 hats on. They're running everything in the business plus doing all the work first couple of years, which is kind of a must have, right? You got to do that. But the problem is next thing you know, 10 years has gone by, Kyle, and they've repeated the first 2 5 times. And that's why they're stuck. They're on a hamster wheel. They're making a little more money and they kind of think they have some freedom because they take a 1-week vacation as long as they call in every day and make sure everything's not burned down at the business, right? So it's kind of an illusion, almost a lie. So I want to bring that back to where they get what they started to get, right? We all went into it to get freedom, to be in control of our time, to make money, to have the things we want, spend time with those we love and stuff like that. So when you see that actually happen, because it's a major pattern in business, I see it. It's just a repeat in every business. Any business that's operating usually between 1 and 10 million gross revenue. They're all suffering from the same thing. It's amazing. Again, I love them because they just took the risk and they had the stones just to do it and go make it and suffer and pay everyone else before them and do all the things they really shouldn't do, but they do it because they want to make a business go, and they just figure it out the hard way. So I'm there to compress 10 years into a year and give them all that they, without the costly mistakes and the bad decisions and all that stuff. So, and it's just so much joy to see that happen.
Well, when you start off trying to start your own business, you're going to put a little bit more time into the business, right? But you can start to scale that back.
Yeah. So here's the trick. I'm going to give everyone the secret. Okay. This is leaning close to listen to the secret. All right. You want to start with an exit strategy. Before you launch your business, you need to have an exit strategy. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why. If you don't know where you're going, how do you actually get there? If I'm in New York and I want to go to California in my car, all I know is to head west. Now, the good news, you're going to see all of the United States. Okay. But I'll probably end up at the Gulf of Mexico thinking I'm at the Pacific Ocean. Okay. So that's why we need a map, right? So your exit strategy becomes your map, right? And you set a time. Hey, 10 years, I don't care what the time, 10, 20 years, 5 years, whatever it is. How much is enough? Literally, how much is enough? How much do you actually want or need at this point of exit, right? Doesn't mean you're never going to do anything again, but what is it? Is it 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, whatever? What are you building, right? What do you want to get? And then from there, you're going to have your time, you're going to have your money. So 10 years, I want a $10 million exit. And I'd love to have I'm earning all this money while I'm going. So let's say you get to you're making 7 figures a year. So I'm taking home $1 million a year. That's great. But now when I sell, even if I get 10 million for the business, I'm going to lose $1 million a year because I'm not in the business, right? So now I've
Right.
just lost $1 million a year of active business income. So what would be the smart thing if I knew that was going to happen? What would be the smart thing to do now? Start acquiring assets that generate income. So I create passive income to replace that million that I'm going to be making. You don't start out making $1 million, but if I can allocate money from my active business income to, and whatever it is, housing, stock markets, well, what do I need? Oh, $83,000 a month. Oh, I'm going to need to create $83,000 a month income passively. Okay, well, over the next 10 years, I'm going to get to that point. So now someone comes in, offers me 10 million for the business, gives me a check. I shake his hand. He's in, I'm out. No one knows the business sold because this runs so well. I'm out. I have my million still coming in passively, and I got my big payout. Right now, even better, as you're building your business with focus on the exit strategy, you understand no one's just going to give you $10 million for a business that like has a few broken down trucks and this, a little customer list, right? They want to come in, like I said, they want to come in, hand you a check, you go out, they come in, and no one knows it's sold because it runs itself. Its machine is on autopilot, right? So they can come in and tweak and do the little thing. That's okay, but I don't want to spend that kind of money on something I have to fix. Right. So that's the point. So as I'm driving towards that exit strategy, the good thing is when you start getting successful, start making more money, what happens is little opportunities float like little butterflies in front of you. People want, hey, you can make money doing this because they know you have a little bit. Those are called shiny object syndromes, right? When you get distracted by that. So people go, well, how do I prevent that? Because it really looks like I make a lot of money. I go, it's very easy. Use your exit strategy. So that opportunity, though, Jimbo over there, he's offering you, does that get you closer or further from your exit? That's the question you have. So you run it through that filter. Ooh, this one, not, it's going to take a lot of my time, my money. It's going to take away from my past. Okay, that's a hard no. Now Sally comes up with a cool little opportunity. I look at it, run through it. Ooh, that's going to get me closer. That's going to build my income from my passive. It's going to get me, speed me to my exit. That's a yes. I can take that on, right? So it becomes a really, really good filter to keep you focused on the main thing. And that's really important. That's where most people go wrong. They drive hard for a couple of years, start getting a little bit successful, then they get distracted. They start to get comfortable because they don't have the end to focus on. They take their eyes off the prize, right? So that was a very long secret, but that's the secret. Okay. If
You
you're
ever
still
had
leaning in, you can sit back now.
have you ever had anyone come to you that's on that brink of bankruptcy?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do. Turnarounds are fun. You've seen the shows. They like turn around, they come in for kitchens and whatever, right? And they do these turnaround stuff. They're actually fun. I really like that because I like the intensity. Not a great place to be if you're a business, because you are hanging on by your fingernails, down to your last dollars, things like that. It can happen, but the good news on that, Kyle, is they're at the bottom. And when people are at the bottom, they got nowhere else to go but up. So they're very attentive. They're going to listen. If they really want to make this thing work, they're going to listen and do exactly what you say. So they're very obedient clients. Okay. And I like that because they'll get things done quickly. So yeah, there is. It's not my prime. I don't look for that, but it's hard to say no to someone who's, in that situation. As long as they'll do exactly what I say, and it's hard and it's painful, but it'll fix it and turn it around. That's another satisfying role. Now, long term, they got a lot of work to do. We can flip them again. If we can flip it quickly and get them back in the game, like even when you see these shows, like, okay, you saw the 30-day turnaround, but did you visit in 6 months from now? Did you visit them a year later? Where are they at? Did they continue on that path? Or did they just go back to old habits and drive their business in the ground again? So interesting.
Yeah. Was it Taffer? Is that guy's the bar rescue guy?
I don't remember. Yeah, it might have been his name. Yeah, I remember I saw a couple of those shows. I forget his name though.
Him and Gordon Ramsay
Right.
will get curious because you see they've turned it around and everything's looking good, and you go and you look them up on the web and you find out that they've sold the business or it's just gone out of business.
Right. Yeah. So it's TV. It's entertainment. Always remember
Right.
when you're looking at the screen, unless you and I are on it talking, it's entertainment. Okay. Well, we're kind of entertaining, but it really is that you're watching a moment. It's good. Even Shark Tank, you watch Shark Tank and there's a lot more going on there than you think. Even
Right.
if they say they're going to help them, you don't know if they actually got help. Because they could have really got into it and said, yeah, no, what did we do? Because they have outs, right? So once they get into the real details, not a 3-minute pitch, they find out, well, this isn't going to work. So again, it's TV. It's cool to learn and understand. It's good to get that kind of inside look, but you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Those businesses, should they do everything they can to avoid filing for bankruptcy?
Well, I'll tell you, it's an interesting thing because yes and no. It really depends on the situation. I'll give you my situation. So I'll give you a real life. Okay. So we're approaching 07, 08, right? Like I'm okay. I had a lot of debt, a lot of stuff. Okay. I'm good. I'm making money, but I'm like, I'm almost there. I'm like a year away, just one normal year, and I'm good. I'm going to be even, right? I never wanted to shaft a vendor. I pay everybody and do all this stuff. So I had about 600,000 I owed. Okay. So I go to one of my biggest clients and he's a multi-billionaire. And I told him, hey, Gary, what can I do? So we sit down at his dining room table, he's looking at my stuff and he goes, you can file bankruptcy. That's what you can do. He goes, this is too much. He goes, if this is 50,000, 100,000, I'd give you a check right now. And he goes, but this you're not going to get out of. So I go, I can't file bankruptcy. I can't shaft these guys. I can't, I'm going to pay them. I can do it. He goes, okay. Well, if you can do it, what if you did file bankruptcy? You'd be at zero right now. And then in a year, you've got $600,000. Wouldn't that be better to have $600,000 that's yours to operate and keep? It's legal. It's not like you're doing something illegal, but you're in a really bad situation. And I tell people this often, I'm a little thick. I'm a Marine. I'm a little thick upstairs and I do things the hard way. So what does he know? He owns multiple professional sports teams and other businesses. And he just has billions. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I didn't. And guess what? I made the money. I got him paid all this stuff and then crash. 08.
Mm-hmm.
So I went from having a normal year to having no year and there was no recovery. Right. So I didn't file bankruptcy, which, okay, I don't have that on my record, but I also didn't have a business. So in the right situation, it could be the right thing to do. Right. So it's a very case by case, Kyle. It's not one blanket. You should never do it. I mean, it is some of the most successful people ever have filed bankruptcy multiple times. It's just part of what happens. I don't like it as like a fallback. You should do all that you can and build your business the right way and operate it right. But again, we got a lot of people who are starting the business who don't know business.
Right.
So they get into it. But you don't want to be found bankruptcy for like $30,000 or something silly like that. Okay, because that's insane because you're affecting yourself for 10 years plus, on that. So it's very, very difficult. So I wouldn't recommend that. But when the numbers get really big and you've really messed up, it may be time.
But a lot of those large companies, they will buy companies that are going out of business and file bankruptcy and sell off the assets, right?
Yep. Yeah. So take the airlines, right? Remember, you had the whole airline thing and guys are going under. And the thing I tell people, they're like, oh, I go, well, the airplanes don't evaporate, Okay. Someone's going to get them. So Southwest is going to buy them for 30 cents on the dollar, 50 cents on the dollar. Now they're going to, because they're efficient, they're profitable. Now they get to get that to add to their fleet. Now they can expand. So, one man's demise is another man's, success. It's an upgrade for them. So you can't think of it as like the whole too big to fail thing, right? back then too was another bunch of nonsense. No one's too big to fail. No one bailed me out. No one bailed poor little me out. I felt pretty big, but the same thing is like you have to be able to stand on your own feet or the market will absorb it and move it. I mean, the Great Depression, more millionaires were created than any other time in history, because there's always opportunity. You just have to be looking at it, focused on the business.
But when they file those bankruptcies, that doesn't affect the actual business that has uh, bought those smaller ones, right?
Correct. And there's remember, there's chapter 11, chapter 13. You can reorganize, right? So you keep the business, you reorganize the business, you get rid of people and do that. It's kind of a shell game. You kind of move things around, but you're protected from your creditors, right? So you get to start over, but still have the business. You can do that as well. So there's different legal ways to shift and move things. You might have to sell some of your planes or whatever you have. That's part of the deal of the reorganization. Take the post office. Okay. By the post office, I had to laugh when I say this. By the post office own predictions, in less than 10 years now, they're going to be $100 billion in the hole. Billion with a B. What and here they are delivering the mail still. I mean, what business could do that, right? And they have every tax. I know they're private now, but they have every tax incentive known to man. They basically don't pay any taxes. 100 billion, Kyle, lost. And they're still going to be doing whatever they do. I mean, so you got to scratch your head sometimes. Something broken here, because my business, I had 600,000. I couldn't make it. They get 100 billion. That's a little lopsided.
So your time in the Marines really affected how you ran things.
Yeah, it actually did. I didn't think of it. You just get out and you do something. There's something that becomes part of you. And I truly believe my son's in the Marine Corps now. And I think it just brings out what you are. I don't think, and I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, who I know, who I've trained to go in the Marine Corps, who's come out, it really just elevates what's inside you. So if I have a warrior mentality, it just enhances that, right? So it enhances what you are and pulls it out. So whatever that is, okay, you did it. So now you have a mentality of, and not just not losing. It's not about not losing. Like a lot of people will say that. No, it's about mission accomplishment. It's not about not losing because that's a different thing. You're talking like playing basketball or something. I'm talking about mission accomplishment. You have a task and you get it done. And usually if you don't, you die.
Right.
Okay. So there's a little higher stakes than losing or winning. Okay. An L or a W. Right. So I think that mentality of accomplishing the mission above anything, right? That's what you really take with you. That becomes part of you. You start to get really creative. You work very, very hard. You'll endure suffering more than anybody, right? To accomplish. I think that's really what it was, Kyle. And looking back, I'm like, yeah, that's what it was. And I'm watching my son now go through all this stuff in the Marine Corps, and he is suffering and he's rising to the challenge every day, and he's just awesome. And I'm like, yep, that's what it was. I see it. I just see what it is, and what an advantage. It is an incredible advantage because I have a level of persistence and grit, they call it, right? I don't know if you ever read that book, Grit by Angela Duckworth. So
No.
it's Grit. She's a researcher, and it's like a 300-page book, but researched all these huge guys, are super successful, right? World famous guys. And she said above everything else, from money to success, education, anything you can imagine, skill, it was grit that went out over everything. They stayed in the game, stayed in it for years, decades, and they did it. So she has a little test you take. It's a grit scale, and you answer these yes, no question, whatever, and that gives you your percentage. I'm not bragging here. I'm just saying I'm 97% on the grit scale. Okay. I can suffer more than the average person. Okay. And for whatever reason, Kyle, I don't know. I have to look back to the good thing about doing things for a long time. You got a lot of data to look at, in your life. And I'm like, yeah, I think everything I was drawn to dealt with suffering, cross country, running, every step is suffering. Okay. Cross country. I boxed. Okay. So I got the one-on-one, that Taekwondo, same thing, the Marine Corps, right? Everything I do is like this, just personal suffering, getting beat, getting run down, right? All this stuff. I'm like, dude, you're odd. I'm like, you're an odd dude. I said, why are you into, but there's just something that's rewarding about that, and they also say suffering together is one of the strongest forms of bond. That's why when you're war, people say it's a huge bond where you are truly suffering in a big way. So, but I just was kind of drawn to it, and however that motivates me. I still work out every day, right? And I hit the bag. I'm really, you think I'm a nut job in the corner. I'm working 10 rounds, throwing every shot as hard as I can, and I just like it. I don't know. I think that's why I can stay in the entrepreneurial game, because I'm just drawn to the challenges and the suffering. It's weird.
Where can people get your book?
Amazon, Escape the Owner Prison. You'll find me right on there. Pick that up. Yeah.
And what is your website?
SharpenTheSpearCoaching.com. You can contact me there. You can send me a message, book calls, get all kinds of information. I have great case studies. I have blogs on there. SharpenTheSpearCoaching.com.
Do you start off with a consultation fee, or how do you do that?
No, I'll do just a basic discovery call. So if you're in business and you want to talk, just book a call, and we're going to walk through. I'm going to find out your biggest challenge right now. You know what I'm probably going to do? Fix it. I'm going to fix it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to fix your biggest challenge, because I love doing tactical work, which is fixing instant problems. So we'd have a good time.
And the necessary evil in this world, what is your social media?
So Richard on Facebook. So look for Richard Walsh on Facebook, and then LinkedIn to be Richard Walsh as well. You can find me there. Those are really the only two I'm on, and I'm not really even on Facebook that much. Like, it's there, but I removed it from my phone because of the distraction that has become. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old and crotchety. I just got things to do of importance, and that's not. So,
Mr. Walsh, first off, thank you for your service. And second of all, thank you for coming on here and spending your time with me today.
Well, it was an honor. This is great. I just love chatting. This was a great conversation, and be happy to do it anytime you want me back.
Hey, you're always welcome back, sir. And I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Please hit that subscribe button. And from my regulars, you guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. And until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network